is the greatest moment in my life.
Hey, yo.
It's Goldberg.
Oh, Maxie, it's Sunday. What are you doing here? What is your beautiful face doing staring back at me?
Well, I mean, I've got no better to do with my weekend, so I thought, why not spend it with my second favourite person in the whole world?
Oh, mate, thanks. Sharon's not here.
I did mean The Rock, obviously.
Oh. I'm not going to lie, I do normally have my laptop on at this time of night on a Sunday doing various different things. And this is going to be
usually masturbating.
I was going to say, this is going to be potentially the trickiest wank I've ever had, but I'm going to power through it. We're not even
the most difficult tug.
Oh my goodness. And I know my kids have tuned in to watch this. I'm so sorry.
Hello, Charlie.
Oh, no. Oh my God, Charlie! We're not even past. It's 8 o'clock. We need to behave. We're not past the watershed.
It's a new day though, so anything could happen.
I suppose. Does that still apply? The watershed? Like you're not like rude stuff on telly in a day, are you? Unless you enter the PIN number on your box now.
I think the thing is with YouTube, you can watch it anytime. I mean, just because we're live now doesn't mean someone can't go back and watch it at a later date, and they may watch it pre-watershed. So I think it's the Wild West.
Obviously, on the podcast version of the shows, there's a little E, which means excellent. You know?
It definitely does not mean that.
No, it means it means explicit.
This podcast is excellent.
Yeah, definitely listen to this one. But do you get that on YouTube? I suppose you get YouTube Kids, don't you? So would it edit us out? Would we be able to be found on?
So when you upload videos to YouTube, there's a section where you put "Is this for kids?" which essentially you're saying whether it's going to be adult orientated or not.
Okay. I suppose
we are rated C for cancelled.
I suppose running my own network, I should probably know this sort of shit. But. But there we go, mate. There we go. It's chain wrestling live on a Sunday. It's our special Sunday Summer Night Slam Heat or something edition, which is a catchy name.
And it's all because you wanted to placate the Liverpool fans in the CWF. Which is shocking. Absolutely shocking. So we didn't have to make them choose between the football and chain wrestling.
And obviously, I screwed that up because Liverpool were on Sunday Monday night last week. And I didn't even realise. I've left my door, just so everyone's aware, in case you hear any noises or anything like that during the show. I've left the door to the room I normally record or broadcast or whatever in slightly ajar, because in theory this should help with my internet signal. And my internet has been brilliant today, touch wood, However, I have just heard a cat meowing and the door move. So I'll pre-warn people.
Running by lemon.
I will pre-warn people.
Meow!
Oh, dear me. Anyway. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Super Special Sunday Summer Night Slam Heat live with Mags and Si, a Radio Techers production, hand in hand with the SJP World Media Network. Episode 89 of Chain Wrestling this week. We're approaching that triple figures, Magsy, very quick, aren't we?
We certainly are. It's so 11 weeks away from 100.
I am Si, and with me, as always, is the empty arena to my empty belly. Magsy, I've been really, really busy today, and I've literally forgotten to eat, honestly. It's 8 o'clock at night, and I've barely eaten. I've been that busy with research and recording and stuff. But
You're
love
wasted
it.
away.
I wouldn't go that far, mate. The halftime Super Bowl to my in need of a bowl of anything. Cornflakes, muesli. I'll take anything. I'm that freaking hungry. Yes, that's it. Food is dominating my mind right now. A podcaster who always brings the Sunday night heat. The podfather himself, Lord Mags. It's a joy to be joined by you again.
Oh, well, it's a joy to have it an extra day early because it means I don't have to scramble on a Monday to watch some wrestling and do a bit of research. But, it's good. It's weird having it on a Sunday, but Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe it's something we do more regularly. Who knows?
Well, maybe I don't know. Because I'll be honest, I recorded Doctor Who pod this afternoon. And I thought in my head I had planned everything out perfectly. Okay, so Maxie, you can anticipate where this is going to go. I thought I had planned all of this out properly, time wise, and so on. It turned out around 7:10. I finished recording Doctor Who pod about 10 to 7 o'clock. So I was thinking, an hour, grab a bite to eat, sort myself out, lovely. About 7:10, I went, shit, I haven't watched the match.
Brilliant.
So
the main part of this show, and you left it to an hour ago to do it.
Yeah, I was saying to Sharon, I felt a little bit rushed, but I think that's because I took on too much this weekend. If I'd done like my research in the week, it would have been fine. But I'm going away next weekend. I'm off to a festival, so I'm not about for a couple of days. So I'm trying to sort of get stuff in before I go away. Same with work and all that sort of stuff, trying to balance it all out. And I think I just misjudged everything.
It happens. I mean, I've done podcasts where I've had to watch the episode of Raw whilst we're recording, so it happens.
Brilliant stuff. Who is with us in the chat, my friend?
Well, we packed. We've confused your poor better half. It's Sunday night. You know what that means. Wait, what? No. A day early, same shit, different day, essentially. Dan Griffin saying, I know we recorded the Doctor Who pod, but I have had time travelled into the future.
You're one of the
you certainly have, sir. You certainly have. Yeah, we're doing this for your benefit, Griffin.
Your benefit.
Stop being a Liverpool fan, and we would still be on Mondays. He says, no, Sharon, I don't know what it means on a Sunday. And he said, already breaking into like the masturbation talk, and he's saying, this is amazing.
That's what the E stands for, mate, next to the podcast. Excellent.
Erotic. That's what it stands for. It's Sunday Night Sar, or should it be Magsy Night Heat? Actually, Sar came up with a tagline for this very episode on WhatsApp, and it was the most catchy catchphrase. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't do Twitter anymore, so
have you not seen the poster? Seriously,
I don't look at the junk you put up.
No, to be honest, I barely, keep running through the chat and I'll find it.
And Sharon says, if you hear a cat, it'll be Billy.
Okay.
Dan Griffin, cocking hand with SJP. Well, now that is a podcast that you can't just listen to. You have to watch that. That's got to be a video podcast.
It's like farming, chickens and stuff, obviously.
Meow, 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 meow. I think Matt is doing an impression of Billy the cat. And Morty's stunned that we're on a Sunday, and he's just munching on his beef. Well, Morty, if you'd have joined me a few minutes earlier, you could have got munching on the beef out of the way, and you could have took part in chain wrestling with us. So Dan has said it's because Man United versus Liverpool is on tomorrow night, and Morty's like, yay! I don't care.
I'm a United fan, and I barely care.
And Dan says, this is the exact reason why we switched it, because he says he would just do what he did this week and sack you off for the footy. Well, we didn't want to put you in that position, Dan, where you would feel guilty about sacking us off to watch Man United come back from a horrific start to the season to absolutely lay the smack on Liverpool.
Not going to happen.
It's so not going to happen. It's going to be about 15-0.
I said to our Livs earlier, because we're doing chain wrestling later on, and Liv went, oh, right, okay. So instead of Monday, and I was like, yeah. And she went, oh, is that so you can watch United lose Monday night? That's like, yeah, cheers.
Can you imagine if we went the other way with like rescheduling chain wrestling? If we'd have gone on after the football, you would have been a sour, cranky fucker.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, that's a really interesting thing, and it is part of a conversation that me and Sharon have on Power Palace that's come out this week, talking about my reactions to football and so on, and how she has to put up with so much. But I think because I'm kind of expecting us to be shit now, I'm kind of okay with it.
I have grown to be disappointed.
Here you are then, Maxie. Here you are. Look. I made this, and it's so good. Can you make that right?
I can. It's very bright. Jesus Christ. It's just a cat. It's just a name that rolls off the tongue.
Sunday Summer Night Slam Heat. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. That's marketing, mate. That's marketing. All the S's that sticks in your mind. Marketing genius.
It sticks in your mind like a splinter. And Dan is already prepared for the Man United win.
Oh, okay. Interesting. We'll have to find out next Monday and let everyone know how things went if they don't already know, I suppose. Yeah. Magsy, how's your week been then, bud? We haven't covered this, have we? What have you been up to? What's been going on?
Yeah, I mean, standard week. Busy yesterday. So much of the combat martial arts / boxing on yesterday. There was PFL. Venom Page making his PFL debut. He got beat. Then, he made his debut at Bare Knuckle. We had the PFL $1 million tournament, which Kayla Harrison went through to the next round. Then we had the boxing, which you were tempted to bring up for a pimple dick. And then UFC and Leon Edwards, a guy from Birmingham, shocked the world by absolutely starching the pound-for-pound best MMA fighter in the world to become the new UFC welterweight champion.
Oh,
and
nice.
he had a really good first round, Leon Edwards, but the champion Kamaru Usman dominated for the next 3.5 rounds, and getting to the final minute, it was almost like everyone was resigned to Edwards losing on points, and he landed a head kick that just put Usman fast asleep. His eyes rolled in the back of his head. His toes curled up. It was glorious to watch. Absolutely glorious.
I love a good knockout, mate. I love a good knockout.
Oh, it came from absolutely nowhere. He was losing the fight. It's as simple and clear as he needed a finish, and he fainted with a right, hit the left head kick, and good night, Usman.
Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna have to look that up.
I think he's the second UFC champion from Britain now, behind Michael Bisping.
Oh, okay. All right. It's good to see the Brits doing well at stuff like this, though, isn't it? I mean, we've always been half decent at a scrap, aren't we, to be fair?
Yeah, where we struggled was wrestling, because in the States, wrestling is massive in college. Collegiate wrestling can make or break somebody's athletic career, but in the UK we don't have anything like that. It's usually football, rugby, cricket, all kind of like contact sports, but we are starting to get better. There's a big sambo uptake in the UK, so we are getting a lot better at wrestling, and with MMA becoming more popular, you've got more kids going and training. So yeah, we're becoming to be a big force in the MMA world.
Yeah, there's a MMA training place literally probably 10 minutes from my house, to be fair. They're popping up all over, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. I, as I said, had a busy weekend. I've been recording and editing and all this sort of stuff, but I love it, mate. It's been great. It's been great. I've kept myself busy, and I've kept myself out the wife's way, so she's happy as well.
Win-win.
Yeah, she's downstairs at the moment watching the show, working away on more products for RBF Luxuries as well. The work never stops, so make sure everyone goes and checks out RBF Luxuries. Yeah, the little plug of the mug there. Look, plug of the mug. That came out. I didn't quite mean that. I know words. on the note of t-shirts, Magsy, August 24th for a few days, our t-shirt supplier is running a sale, 35% off. Ordinary standard tees are reduced a certain amount, and it's up to 35% off on everything else. So, however much, I think they come down to about 11 quid ish, which you can't argue with, can you? Yeah, you can't argue with stuff. New designs will be up in time for that, but the sale starts on the 24th. So, all the links we put out on our social medias, and that applies to Nitro Nights, Powell Palace, all the new shows as well. They're all going to have bits and bobs there, so go and check it out. And also on that note, people on Twitter and so on. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you think of the new shows on SJP World Media and the stuff that Benny Mac's bringing us, the stuff that Tyler Peters is doing with our good friend Scottish Danny, all the stuff that we brought over, for example, Doctor Who Pod, Nitro Nights, and so on. And then, of course, the new shows that are starting up on the podcast as well. Give us your thoughts. Really interested in, knowing what people think, Magsy, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the criticism and the advice can only help make the network bigger and better. Tells us what you're enjoying and what needs to change to keep that enjoyment going. So, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I won't change, fuck all.
In fact, I won't even read any of your Twitter comments.
Oh, there we go. No, I'm obviously being silly. Of course I am. So shock horror. Yeah. I suppose then, Magsy, we should chuck some crap in the old Hall of Fame, shouldn't we? Get rid of some.
So you're not doing the old Pimple Dick. You've teased Scottish Danny saying that Pimple Dick is back, and you're not going to do it.
I'll be honest.
Shall I tell you why you're not going to do it? Because you didn't watch the fucking boxing match, did you?
I didn't watch the boxing match.
You were just getting your information third hand.
I was.
Yeah.
And I looked into it, and then I saw. Obviously, for those unaware, we're referring to Anthony Joshua here and his, shall we say, odd behaviour after the fight when he lost to Usyk this weekend. Now,
I'm just gonna click the button.
Pimple Dick alert!
Oh, a teeny weeny.
See, now people are going to expect a rant, and I'm not sure I'm prepared.
I mean, we can tag team it because I did watch the fight.
Okay. And now, I don't know exactly why the behaviour was the way it was. However, this guy, and I'm going to look at it, Anthony Joshua. I'm into boxing to a degree, but I'm not as into my combat sports as you are, Magsy, or Dan Griffin, or various other people we know. I met my wife and her friends went into it as well. I enjoy it, but I'm far from an expert. However, one thing I do like to think I'm relatively good at is being a parent. And I have, 4 children, and they look up to sports people all over the place. Anthony Joshua is a role model in theory, whether people want to think that or not. However, how he behaved after this fight, it doesn't really, it's not the best behavior in mind when there are people who look up to this guy, is it, Magsy? Do you want to sort of talk us through what he did and how he behaved?
So this was the rematch from the fight with Alexander Usyk, and I'm along with Si, I'm not a massive expert in boxing. I'm more of an MMA guy. I know Dan Griffin is a way bigger expert than me, but essentially these two have kind of had very similar journeys in boxing. Both competed in the 2012 Olympic Games, both made their way to being professionals. Usyk was a lower weight, I think he was a cruiserweight, and Joshua obviously a heavyweight. Now, when Joshua and Usyk faced off the first time, Usyk absolutely dominated Joshua.
I saw that fight.
Now, this one was a little bit more even, but the thing with Usyk is he's a generational talent when it comes to boxing. He's the type of boxer that is always learning to the point where he learns during the fight. He'll change up his game plan and he'll change up his approach just by reacting to what he's seen in the ring, and he had Joshua's number. It's as simple and clear as that. Joshua had a lot more success this fight than he had the last fight, but at the end of the day, he just lost to a better fighter. Now, there is some hints that Joshua maybe has concussion, and that was a bit of an effect. There's a lot of talk of his team kind of throwing him out to the wolves and kind of leaving him to die on his own sword. A lot of people are saying maybe his team should have pulled him in when he started doing the ranting, but essentially threw his titles away after the fight. in quite an angry mood, but he then kind of like 180'd and was so respectful to Usyk, saying how good of a boxer he was, and went into a long-winded rant about how Usyk is a warrior because of what's going on in the Ukraine. The war is not good, which was just so cringy. And then he started telling people that if it wasn't for boxing, he would be arrested, he'd be in jail and things like that. And people want him to have combinations like Rocky Marciano, but he's not 14 stone, he's 18 stone and stuff like that. You could tell his brain was a little bit scrambled. And as Dan says in the comments, he made himself look a bell end, but his team leaving him out to do that was not a good thing for him. And I think the pressure of this fight and kind of what would have happened post fight has really got to Joshua. So there was so much weight on his shoulders to beat Usyk, and then go on to face Fury for kind of like the biggest fight in boxing history, and he wasn't able to beat Usyk. So now he's essentially back to the drawing board. He's lost back-to-back fights, and he's pretty much out of title contention, which for him is very, very new territory. So I don't think it's a full pimple dick because there's a lot of factors in there, but he's certainly half a pimple dick.
Yeah. It's just there's a way to lose, isn't there? And I feel that he let himself down with some of the things. Even if you are incredibly frustrated with how this has gone on, and there's so much that it was riding on this for you, the whole picking up of the belts and throwing them on the floor.
Yeah,
that's not a slip of the tongue. That's not he said something daft.
That was definitely temper.
That's not a spur of the moment thing either, because he's picked the belts up and he held them for a second or two, or maybe even longer, didn't he? It wasn't a case of pick them up, lob them. He had them in his hands, and you could see like he stood there there was a pause. So that's not a case of just lob him and be done with it. Spur of the moment, he's pissed off. That's all. I don't want to say premeditated, because maybe it's not as extreme as that, but there's thought that's gone into that. He has done that with a certain level of intent in mind. Young kids watching this, young kids, especially when I'm a father of 4, and my eldest is my son. The other 3 are girls. Now, lots of girls would have been watching this card because of there was quite a historic ladies boxing match on this show as well, Magsy, wasn't there? And the ladies, I saw the press conference, and the ladies were talking on their press conference. The one lady especially was talking about how historic and important this is for young girls watching this event and watching these ladies fight in Saudi Arabia, wasn't it, Jeddah? Now, when you put that into context with what happened later on, is that setting the right example for these? Again, I'm a father of girls. My young girls watching that, I would have been disgusted if they'd looked at it, because they're going to look up to these people and think that's how you can behave.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And James, with a brilliant comment, he went full Hogan. He went Hogan Royal Rumble 1992, didn't he? It was brilliant. This AJ doing his best. This ain't gonna work for me, brother.
Oh man, Hogan in '92. What a stroker. James, I did notice as well that you posted in the chat this. You're normally, I think you referred to yourself as an audio wanker. Nobody is an audio wanker. I work bloody hard on those audio shows. Okay? So thank you so much for listening, first of all. But also, this is, I suppose, the joy of doing a Sunday night on the random, I guess, because we're getting people who normally listen to the audio joining us for the live. So that's awesome, because these people interact with us on Twitter, and now they can be part of the live show as well on the Sunday, which is fantastic, Magsy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And whilst we've got James in the chat, it would be remiss of us not to say how amazing it is to see him have so much goddamn success. I mean, going from being involved with him at the very, very start of his journey to see where he is now. I mean, Cafe de Rene doing absolute gangbuster numbers, being mentioned in multiple wrestling media outlets. Yeah, so glad to see one of our own really kind of smash it and take the ball and run with it. Yeah, so we're massively proud of you, James.
I've got to admit, I didn't think it was that James.
Just thought it was a different random James.
No, not a random James. I think there's 3 different Jameses that interact with us on the Twitter machines. So I just thought I'd go edge my bets and just talk as though I'm talking to all of them. I apologise. But yeah, Cafe de Rene. Oh, man. See, so Kurt Angle was on there.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. There you go. Wrong James. Look. I told you.
There we go.
Is this 80s and 90s wrestling, James? Please answer in the chat, my friend, if it is.
Brilliant. So I look a pillock. Shock horror.
There you go.
Anyway, if that James does listen, we are proud of you. This James, well, we're not as proud of you then. To be fair. Yeah, we're proud of all James.
Yeah, but people named Mark, they can fuck off. No. Do we have any listeners called Mark? Because I picked that name at random. And if we do have listeners called Mark, I really apologise.
If we did, we don't now.
Magsy, shall we get rid of some garbage and crap into the Chain Wrestling Hall of Fame?
About bloody time we
A Sunday edition of Hall of Fame, disposing of the awfulness, the embarrassing, the cringeworthy in the professional wrestling world. What made you shudder and embarrassed when non-wrestling fans thought, oh, let's have a look what they're into? And that popped up on screen, and you just thought, oh, man, I look a right tool now. Magsy, what you got for us?
Well, man is none of those things.
Brilliant.
Man is just... I just feel disappointed. And man is also a very, very recent one, like literally this week recent. It's the announcement that the WWE are closing NXT UK.
Yes.
And the reason why it's going in the Hall of Fame is because of what NXT UK originally did to the Brit Rest scene. I mean, obviously, it was counter-programming to RTV bringing back World of Sport. And it was part of the Triple H's idea of global localization and NXT in all the major territories. And the issue was it kind of hoovered up all of the big independent British talent to the point where a lot of the smaller companies were really struggling to find that big name talent to draw people to watching their show. And then WWE kind of doubled down by having in the contracts that these wrestlers couldn't even appear for the other companies, never mind wrestle. So it really kind of affected the British scene really, really hard to a point where a lot of people were worried that it was the demise of the British wrestling scene. Thankfully, we haven't quite seen that. It did take a massive hit, but we are getting to the point where it's building back up again. But we did see some casualties on the way. Southside Wrestling, one of the major ones, especially when WWE pulled out loads of talent for their final show, and Cody and AW kind of did the good thing and sent a load of talent over. But at least we had a wrestling show that the UK and the rest of the world could watch in NXT UK. Some really good wrestling. I would argue that alongside 205 Live, it was probably some of the best in-ring work that the WWE produced. Way better to watch than Raw and SmackDown. Some absolutely amazing matches on there. I mean, the whole tournament for the first champion with Tyler Bate winning, and then you had Volta in there just absolutely destroying people. Volta versus Dragunov, a 5-star classic. All the matches with Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate and things like that. It was a cool little show that the UK could call their own. And whenever it was on the network and the American fans were watching it, they got to see just how passionate UK fans were. I mean, we sent shoes off if you hate Gibson around the world. People had no idea what it was about, but everybody embraced it. And the kind of viewing dropped off. We were not getting as many numbers on the network. The BT Sport deal, NXT UK wasn't close to being the most watched show in that deal. So it was almost becoming the best show that nobody watched. Now, the costs for the show were pennies compared to the main brands. I think the contracts were like £15,000 a year per wrestler, which is, in the grand scheme of things, it's minimum wage. It's very little money. So it was not something that was done to cut costs and for better budget cuts. This was something that was done because WWE want to expand from the UK into Europe. So this week we heard the news that NXT UK is going on a hiatus, which we all know means goodbye. NXT Europe is going to pop up sometime in September. But the issue is that they cut 21 wrestlers. Mm-hmm. From NXT UK this week. So guys like Flash Morgan Webster, Wild Boar, Jack Stars, Mark Andrews, Amelie, Millie McKenzie, who I will still say has got the potential to be the best women's wrestler that there's ever been. That girl is so talented. Kirsty Bosley, Dave Mastiff, Ashton Smith, Shaw Samuels, Nina Samuels, Sam Gradwell, Danny Luna, Primate, Rohan Raja, Kenny Williams, Amir Jordan. The biggest one for me, Trent Seven, Eddie Dennis, T-Bone, Tierman, Zaya Brookside, Saxon Huxley. There is a kind of silver lining in this dark cloud, because they also got rid of Sid Scala, who's an absolute knob jockey, and how they were paying him a wage is unreal. But yeah, for me, I can't stand the twat. But yeah, it's just sad that what could have been the shining light of the NXT global localization era has now died a very, very quiet, sad death. So yeah, for me, it's the closure of NXT UK.
Yes. I got to admit, I'm one of those that probably didn't help the matter because I didn't watch NXT UK very often at all. I've obviously got the network and my Virgin Media box, similar to Sid Scala, I suppose. Virgin Media. I've got the Virgin Media box. You have like your serious thing, and every week it would record Raw, SmackDown, NXT UK on BT Sport, and I'd delete every single one every week. But I'd just have it recorded because I'm thinking I might watch it if something pops up. I never really did watch. However, a lot of the talent you just listed, I've seen at local shows in Gloucester and around before they disappeared off to NXT UK. And the UK tournament itself, that the beginning, I suppose, of NXT UK to crown that first UK champion. How good was the in-ring content of that? That tournament was unreal.
For me, anytime NXT UK was involved in kind of like cross promotion shows, they stole the show. I mean, you look at the Worlds Collide stuff; they were some of the best wrestling that WWE have produced over the last few years, and thankfully we're getting kind of like a swan song with another Worlds Collide. But yeah, it's just a sad state of affairs. And 21 super talented British wrestlers hoovered up from the independent scene, and then cast aside to a scene that's quite, it's been decimated. So hopefully they will be brought back in when NXT Europe is started. But as long as Sid Scala's not involved in that, I'm good.
On that note, I would like to throw a mention out here to someone who was perhaps mocked a little bit in the UK wrestling scene when NXT UK started signing people up and so on, and that was the World of Sport champion Justin Soysom.
Yes.
Now he comes literally from my neck of the woods. He lives in Gloucester, or did at least live in Gloucester anyway, or around this area. Trained in Gloucester. I believe he came through the Evolution Wrestling Academy, which is my local company, and he's been Evolution Wrestling champion and worked with all the some incredible matches. He had a 2 out of 3 falls match with Yeston Reese that my wife and kids and I saw. That honestly, it's still to this day. I wish I'd videotaped it somehow because it was that bloody good.
Yeah.
He released a statement when this whole NXT UK thing. Well, I suppose anti-monopoly, I suppose it was the vibe of what he said. And he was openly mocked a great deal and laughed at and so on. Now,
I remember that, and he had a lot of great points. He was talking a lot of sense, but the rhetoric was that he was butthurt that he didn't get a contract. And I think I remember Pete Dunne leading the charge, and lots of kind of like NXT UK wrestlers were kind of sent out, kind of like the dog sat on him, and he was essentially shouted down. Yeah, poor guy. I mean, I didn't fully agree with what he said.
No.
There was a little bit of sour grapes in there for sure. But yeah, the wrestling community absolutely shouted him down, and it turned out a lot of what he said came true.
Yeah, and again, I'm not backing Justin Soysom because I've met the guy. He was always very nice to me. He was nice to my
Us
kids.
Gloucester folks stick together.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. But a lot of what he said was, I suppose, was a little bit like, wow, poor me. However, like you said, Maxie, there was some elements of truth in there as well, especially now in hindsight, looking back. And I hope that maybe on some level there's a little smile for Justin Soysom. He might be thinking, okay, I don't want to be happy about this, but
I fucking am. Just with his cape around him like that.
So he laughs in a way that's sort of like a combination of Vince McMahon and Santa Claus, does he?
It was me, Pete Dunne, all along.
Yeah. And again, I fully back the guys who mocked him as well, because they got signed up and it was a great opportunity for them. So I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying it's ironic now that this has happened, and Justin Soysom maybe didn't quite get a fair crack of the whip in. Was it 2018 or 19 or something like that, wasn't it?
Well, it was June 2018 that NXT UK was announced. I think the first show was maybe October. But yeah, I think it was there was some sour grapes there from Justin, and the guy was talented. He was really good on World of Sport. And I have no problem with any of the wrestlers signing for NXT UK. No. Because at the end of the day, it's guaranteed income. It's doing a job that you love. It's wrestling for the company that 99% of the world, that's their aim as a wrestler. They want to wrestle for the WWE. That was they're in. I understand that they had a world-class performance center. It's just the damage it did to the UK scene by hoovering up all of the top talent in one kind of fell swoop. Just for 4 years later for it to be, well, we're bored of this now. Off you go, lads. Back to an indie scene that couldn't pay them anywhere near the money that they were getting before. So hopefully this influx of new talent will kind of boost the scene, and we'll get back to that. But it's just sad to see it go.
Yeah, no, I agree. My Hall of Fame inductee this week is a lot more straightforward than yet again, Magsy. Yours is so in depth and
as if mine was convoluted.
Well, no, but it's so informative.
What you mean is, I've researched, man, and you only had an hour. You had to fit in a Sunday night heat, and now it's shit. What do I hate in wrestling?
Nah, it's something that I've actually told you to put in for a while, and other things have popped up beforehand. And this because I've got to put this guy in, or not this guy, but this particular gimmick. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I've got a little bit online that I'm just going to read a few lines from because it sums up the build up to this individual debuting probably better than I could verbalize myself. Okay, in 1995, Jerry Lawler lost a Kiss My Foot match to Bret Hart at the King of the Ring pay-per-view. The King needed special dental treatment after having his own rotten foot stuffed in his mouth. And he then came back to the WWE with his dentist, Dr. Isaac Yankem, who was cross with Bret Hart for making Jerry Lawler's teeth that bad. We had various vignettes showing Yankem working on patients, whilst also exposing on a regular basis his own incredibly poorly kept teeth. My entrant into the Hall of Fame this week is the legendary Kane in a former guise. And no, I don't mean the fake Diesel.
The Stalker.
Dr. Isaac Yankem. Now, this was terrible. And it's one of those moments where the teeth about. I got a thing about really manky, horrible teeth, and coming from Gloucester, I see a fucking lot of them. I'll tell you that now.
Wait till we're inducting Gene Snitsky then.
Oh God, what? But this is just so nonsensical. The whole premise of why he came to the guy is 7 foot tall. The guy is a trained professional wrestler. The guy is going to go into a program with Bret Hart, who, let's be honest, is one of the greatest of all time. He could carry. I know that the cliche is carry a broom handle to a passable match. Bret Hart could do that. Why do you need it to be a case of this guy is the fucking dentist for Jerry the King Lawler for it to make sense? Why can't you just think of something better? Why can't it just be, I don't even know, but I imagine the CWF could literally in the next 90 seconds give us God knows how many alternatives to bringing this 7 foot monster in to assist Jerry Lawler in his feud with Bret Hart that led to a match at SummerSlam 95 and then a cage match on Raw, I think. Was it the week after or the week after that? Maybe something like that. Which ultimately ended the feud. And then Yankem hung around for a little bit, disappeared, came back as fake Diesel, disappeared, came back as Kane. So it wasn't even like he was around for very long. But why? It's just such a stupid. I'll tell you what it is. The word is lazy. It's fucking lazy. They think they're being creative, but it's shite. And it's just embarrassing. And it's one of those moments where, again, I always use this as an example. Yeah, they needed someone to fight the plumber and the bin men, Dan Griffin says in the chat. Yeah, exactly. I use this always as an example for the Hall of Fame segment, because it's kind of where the Hall of Fame originated from in my mind, and that kind of the seed for where it sort of grew from. If my dad walked into the room halfway through an Isaac Yankem vignette, he would openly mock me and roll his eyes, and I would be embarrassed. So if that doesn't tick the boxes for a Hall of Fame induction, I don't know what does, my friend.
It's shocking that it's not gone in way before now, because it's just so terrible.
It's just.
I mean, it was smack dab in the middle of the every new gimmick has to have a career. Like Dan said, we had plumbers, we had bin men, we had people who played hockey, boxers, all that kind of shenanigans. And if you compare this kind of introduction and then the introduction of fake Diesel to the introduction they had with Kane, it's like night and day. I mean, to be fair, I'm glad that we didn't get an amazing Isaac Yankem run, because maybe we wouldn't have got Kane. So in a way, I'm happy that this failed, and I'm happy that Fake Diesel failed, because we got one of the best wrestling characters that we've ever got, one of the best gimmicks that we've ever got. And yeah, he absolutely ran with the Kane character. So I'm happy that it failed, but we didn't need it at all. So yeah, it definitely deserves its place in the Hall of
Do you
Fame.
reckon we might have still got the Kane character, but it would have been played by, well, I don't know, Crush or fucking Adam Bomb or some nonsense, wouldn't it? You know,
Jesus wept. Jesus wept.
or they'd have brought back Giant Gonzalez again. Can you imagine that?
This guy you beat 3 years ago at WrestleMania, he's actually your real brother.
He's your brother. Oh, there we go. Magsy, shall we dip into the chat quickly before we get on with this week's non-wrestling topic, considering it's already 45 minutes into the show?
It is. I mean, luckily we're getting really good at bulking out the beginning of the show, so we don't have to really focus on the shitty wrestling.
Yeah, just talk wrestling for 2 minutes and be done. Here's where we're going next week. See you Monday.
Yeah. So we'll start here with NXT UK killed the best chance wrestling had at getting back into the mainstream, along with Tony Khan offering RTV AEW for free. That's another thing that bugbears me, the fact that AEW is on a channel that nobody watches. That could have easily been like it could have been mainstream, but
yeah,
this is the way it goes.
Especially with Magsy, especially with WWE going from Sky to BT at roughly the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. James says, confirming that he is the guy you thought he was and not the guy I thought he was. Yep, and the twat who takes photos of old 90s Hasbros and posts them on Twitter.
I retweet those all the time from my account.
There's nothing wrong with old 90s Hasbros. They're amazing.
I love it. Keep it up, James, honestly. I bloody love it. It's so good. I love looking at the old figures and the matches you're putting on. It's awesome. Keep doing it. And I'll keep retweeting it as well. And if anyone in the CWF or elsewhere sees one of James's tweets retweeted by myself, chuck him a follow, because it's great. It's not just a ring and two figures. There's like the backdrops. It's bloody fantastic. I love it, mate.
Yeah, a lot of effort gone into him. Dan saying Justin Sarzan must be basking in his rightness. Yeah, I mean, it'd be kind of a bit morbid if he actually was crowing about wrestlers being out of work, but he was right. Scotty Stanley saying William Regal loved NXT UK. His story on how that initial tournament came together is quite the listen. And he said that NXT UK was very easy to watch, 45 minutes, simple angles and decent belts, yeah. And Dan saying the best wrestling show nobody watched is Impact. Well, about 3 people watched that. So I think they were getting more numbers than NXT UK.
Ooh.
And then Morty saying, close, Danny, any more takers?
He asked about, he's going to turn his work phone on for the first time in 2 weeks and see how many
he's got 350 emails. I think less than that, maybe 349, just to be pernickety. Dan is proposing Brexit, NXT UK. NXT UK means NXT UK. Breakaway from NXT Europe angle coming. Brilliant. The European wrestlers can't come in the country. They're stuck in a traffic jam on the border of France. Brilliant. Christ on the back. Dan saying fuck Primate as well. Creepy twat. More asking what Sid Scala did, and he said Dan confirming that he mentally abused Mariah May after she refused to sleep with him. I think that may be what Primate did. I don't know if that was what Sid Scala did. Was it? But I'm
he was
sure.
A bit of an odd one as well, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was he was incredibly odd. James said he bumped into Trent Seven at a local cricket club. Huge bloke and nice lad, just casually watching the cricket. I'm sure Trent Seven's name was brought up in the whole kind of Me Too rigmarole as well, weren't it?
I don't think everything was a lot of that Me Too stuff. Names were brought up, but
I remember Tyler Bates' name being brought up as well, and people were like, absolutely not true.
Yeah, and then certain people accused of certain things, but nothing ever came of it. Whereas other people, things did come of it, and there was proof. So I think we need to be very careful with how we.
Travis Banks, who I supported for a long time, ended up being an absolute fucking wrong'un.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
Dan Griffin, SARS fellow cheese rolling ambassador Justin Sizem. And Scottish Daddy, I will never get tired of my Gloucester impression. I just flow into it easy. It's almost like I'm from Gloucester. If I rock around Gloucester like that, if I rock around Gloucester talking like this, they'd think I was a native.
I don't know about that, mate. You got too many teeth in your mouth to be a native.
He's now from here. He's got a full set of gnashers.
He looks nothing like somebody off Jeremy the Kyle show.
Dan Griffin says he saw Justice Hasn't wrestled Keith Lee once, and it was absolutely great.
Oh, okay.
And he said he loves it. The first thing I made Jordan did was call up Tom Campbell and get on Desert Island Graps. Yeah, and I think it's more later on and says Tom Campbell is lovely. I adore Tom Campbell from Cultaholic. I think he's such a positive force in wrestling. I really enjoy him. Some of his comedy is a bit cringe, but he's always really, really positive. Apparently, I sound like I'm from the Forest of Dean.
That's never a good thing, my friend.
Is it?
Oh, if you were from the Forest of Dean, then the good lady Mags would not only be your wife, she'd also be your sister.
That's very grim. Dan's asking if your dad walked in halfway through, you yanking what now? Oh my good Lord.
Teeth, like Isaac Yankem, of course. Where are you going?
Brilliant. Kane as played by the 1-2-3 kid. Dan said that was what Sid Scala did. Yeah, I thought it was Sid Scala who was the creepy little shit. He said he's not sure what Primate did, but there's reasons that don't book him anymore. And Dan said Tommy's like that in real life as well. Been on the piss with him a few times. Lovely bloke. Laugh at all the party and just a sweetheart. And he gets a lot of grief online as well, like for being a shill. And it's so unfair because he's just so positive. I mean, he's probably the main reason why I'll watch Cultaholic News over kind of like What Culture News. Plus, I don't like the bald-headed one, Andy, or the ginger one. So that's not because he's ginger. That's because he's a wanker.
Right. I've got no idea who any of these people are.
That's because you don't keep up with the rest of the news.
I don't need to.
Because all your favourite wrestling happened like 25 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. We did a recording for Nitro Nights yesterday, Scottish Danny and I, and we got to a pay-per-view stage. Something happened on the pay-per-view. I reacted like it was brand new news. I was like, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
Wow, that's the beer giving you kind of that concussion, I think.
Yeah, selective memory, should we say?
Yeah.
There we go then, Magsy. There we go. Shall we jump across to Twitter then and have a little look at this week's non-wrestling topic?
Let's do it, sir.
Okay. Being on a Sunday, Magsy suggested, what about everyone's, I suppose, best Sundays or perfect Sunday? What would it entail? What would it do with regards to your food? Whether, if you had a roast, what would your roast be made up of? All that, everything that you could imagine. What would be your perfect Sunday? And we had some quite varying responses, Magsy, didn't we?
We certainly did. And again, the chain wrestling family did not disappoint.
No, indeed. I will go through them in the order they arrived into us once again. So, that's the only order I know. How do you want me to do it?
Just do it, and I'll do the logistics in the background.
I love you, Max. First of all, very, very quickly with their response, our good buddies, and I always, sort of read these tweets with one eye closed, wincing and worried. Our good buddies at 5 Nerds Go.
Now
we have here.
This is not. I have to say, this is not all of the nerds. This is definitely Matt, who is the least filtered of the nerds.
Right. Okay. Early morning F1. Okay.
Good start.
Breakfast with added toast. Shower, crafty wank.
Brilliant. I'm actually
Oh my
shocked
God.
he's left it this late to have a crafty wank.
Yeah. My kids listen to this. Jesus Christ. Roast dinner, watching football. Yeah. Go watch some live tussling. Have a KFC on the way
That's
home.
wrestling. I hope it means it not.
Yeah, I hope so. Have a KFC on the way home whilst talking to a hobo on a train. Have a relaxing cider, another shower, maybe another crafty if I can be bothered, then go to sleep. Yeah, he's proper structured out the day there, hasn't he? You know, that's a proper from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed. Knows exactly what he wants.
I mean, 2 crafties in a day is that not rookie numbers?
I... Anyway,
Brilliant.
Morty at Morty JR5, soon to be a guest on the Doctor Who pod discussing a Christopher Eccleston story
you poor bastard, Marty.
that scares the shit out of Dan Griffith. So I'm really, really looking forward to covering that. Morty says he would like to be able to sleep past 7:15, which is the latest he's managed in years. Have a cooked breakfast, the quality I want, but without having to actually cook it. Go for a swim in an empty-ass pool in the sun with some ice-cold, non-alcoholic, of course, cider, and finish it all off with, hang on a sec, a banging shit.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah? There you go. There you go. Dan Griffin at Dan Griffin 21. He says his best Sunday would be a good breakfast, anything from poached eggs on toast to a fry-up. A few pints between 12 and 2 with my dad and granddad. Not any other time of the day, though. Literally, it has to be then.
Yeah, they've got exactly 2 hours, and that's it.
Dan's time is very valuable. Liverpool play in the early kickoff. He then goes to walk the dog, record the Doctor Who pod because his co-host is fucking amazing. I bet they just have enough characters to write that here. A roast dinner, a few more beers, and then a bit of TV or video games. Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Just chilling out and, you know.
Bit disappointing that you didn't signify where the crafties come in to that timeline.
Yeah, we're curious now. When would you? No, we're not curious. We don't want to know. Dan says also.
In fact,
on the
that's
roast
next
dinner,
week's question. How many times and what times do you have your crafties?
So, man, you'd be exposing people to their better halves, wouldn't you? You know,
Just screenshotting all of the answers.
No, it's 10:15. He's knocking one out now.
What's happening perfectly on time to disturb it.
Yeah, that's it. Just a picture of his nan or something. So
No, just a picture of Stevie Richards from Right to Centre just looking at him whilst he's having a crafty wank. Or Avery when she was in Right to Centre.
Yeah, I reckon you can still succeed with Ivory. Anyway, Dan Griffin continues on the roast dinner. Lamb, mashed potatoes, roast potatoes, Yorkshire puddings, carrots, green beans, and loads of onion gravy made with the meat drippings. Nice. Mashed potato and roast potato. See, I don't have that.
What?
I don't have mash and roasters. I'll have roasters. I don't have mash and roast.
What? You don't have mashed potato on your roast dinner?
No. Is that what other people? Is that what?
I'm not putting up with that. That's illegal. Sorry, this is now just the mag show. You don't have mashed potato on your roast dinner. That's shocking.
I hate that you've got control of that mute button. You know.
I mean, you have as well. You literally have the same control.
I can't figure that out.
And I'm not going to tell you.
No, I don't.
I'm going to do that as well to wind you up.
I'm the wrong way round now. Put me back. There we go.
No, you need your meat, 2 cans of potato, your veg, definitely a Yorkshire pudding, gravy. Yeah, you've got to have 2 cans of potatoes.
Yeah, see,
You've got to.
I don't know because my plate is so full. Sharon makes the Yorkshire pudding at home and it's banging, so I get loads of that. And then she does roast carrots and all that. So I've got so much on my plate. I don't think I can even fit mash on there.
Get bigger plates.
I've got a plate that I refer to as my toasty plate, right?
Is it oval?
No, it's a square. It's a massive bloody thing like that, and I could fit 2 toasters on there. It's a big old plate, and Sharon hates this plate because it doesn't match anything else in the house. But I love it. So when I have my roast dinners, I like it on my toasty plate because it's extra big.
Why do you not have a second plate on the side for your mashed potato?
Just literally a plate of mashed potato.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
No, okay, fair enough. We'll try that, Shah. Next time you're cooking a Sunday roast, Magsy says you have to make me that.
It's a game changer.
Okie doke. Connor Knows Soccer at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. Obviously from the States, so the time difference works to his advantage here a little bit with regards to the football, I suppose. My regular Sunday morning is wake up at 8:15 a.m., go to the kitchen, make a cup of coffee and some scrambled eggs, bacon and toast. At around 8:50, go back to my room and turn on the TV for the 9 a.m. Premier League kickoffs.
Whilst having a craft.
Weird, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. That'd be weird, wouldn't it, watching footy at 9 a.m.?
Yeah, it is. I always feel sorry for the likes of Tanner when we get an early kickoff and he has to get up at the crack of dawn to watch football. But then again, they don't feel sorry for us when we're up until the stupid o'clock watching wrestling. So
No,
swings and roundabouts.
Fair point. Danny at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter. He says, a perfect Sunday for me is getting to see my sister, brother-in-law and niece, having a drive around the shops and making each other laugh, and then getting a nice meal to eat. Oh, that's lovely.
He's the most honourable member of the CWF, isn't he? Scottish Danny. He's not sullied by our horrific senses of humour. He's just a nice, genuine lad. That's heartwarming. But how many crafties did he have in that time? You'll have to let us know, Danny.
Yes, he says
he did it today. He's literally he's had a quick Sunday crafty. Probably whilst we were talking about crafties. But I ain't got it done yet, so I might as well
like a checklist.
Knock one out.
Just, I've had dinner. I had a shower. Oh damn it! I've forgotten that. High Five Tom at High Five Tom on Twitter. He says here, honestly, waking up reading a sweet book. Going to at official CW Milw.
That's Insane Championship Wrestling in Milwaukee.
Okay. At the world famous La Pica Lounge, and then Brainbuster Boys and Good Bad Wrestle for the Sunday night walk. I've also left out some of the other details with my better half. Okay.
The crafties. But how classy of a day is that? I mean, waking up reading. I mean, was he sleeping whilst reading and then he's awake to read, or is he walking
asleep with a book on his face?
Yeah, just the drool has stuck the page to him. I have to peel it off his lip like that.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's classic. That reading, getting up to read. Yeah, what a gent.
Yeah, that's far too cultured for me, my friend. Joshua,
unless
Goodwin.
It's a Sunday sport, Si's not interested in reading.
Yeah, that ain't about reading, is it? That's all about looking at the pictures. Joshua Goodwin at Joshua Goodwin PW, my co-host on the very, very soon to be arriving NXT Rise and Fall podcast. He says, my perfect Sunday usually involves throwing myself at the ground and shouting at people. I want to stipulate here, he's not just in the local park diving off.
Just a mentalist.
Yeah, he's not just acting all crazy and people are avoiding him. Joshua is a wrestler. So, yeah, Joshua Goodwin. Otherwise,
not Christopher Goodwin.
Not Christopher Goodwin, no, which is what I referred to him as on the show previously and got it completely fucking wrong. Otherwise, time spent with the family. Might stick on some sport. Failing that, some old wrestling or some video games. P.S. And this is going to cause some heat. Roasts are highly overrated. Oh.
I hope somebody has a crafter into his salad now for that.
Oh man.
So nobody listened to that podcast because it's quite clear.
Whoa.
I mean, you can if you want, but just hate the podcast. Listen to it.
Like people used to hate what?
No, I mean, Yeah, some people probably still do. I mean, roasts aren't for everyone, I suppose. I mean, vegetarians are a thing, aren't they? So,
Yeah. A friend of mine used to have on his roast, I think I've said this before on the show, he'd have a couple of roast potatoes, a bit of gravy, and then a couple of potato waffles, and that's what he'd eat. And the rest of his and the rest of his family would have a proper roast, but that's all he'd have because he didn't like anything else.
I mean, it's at least he's sticking to the having 2 potatoes rule, waffles and roast.
But still,
God, that's fucking boring, isn't it? That's a lot of carbs and nothing else.
Yeah, it is a bit odd, isn't it?
I
MGB
won't be
Graham.
friends with him anymore.
To be honest, I haven't spoken to him for quite a while.
I wonder why.
At MGB Graham on Twitter, he says, a round of disc golf in the morning, Sunday lunch, and then some sport on TV in the afternoon. Now, this disc golf, there's something on Instagram that started popping up. And, like, you know, you get, you should follow this or you should follow that. Something about, like, the greatest disc golf shots or whatever, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, I can't remember, popped up. So I followed it. So it now comes up on my timeline quite a bit. Some of these dudes with the frisbees and whatnot, that's amazing.
It's still throwing frisbees in a big hole, isn't it?
Yeah, but they got to bend it around the trees and all that sort of stuff.
Jesus Christ, I'm just about to slay disc golf, and it up pops Graham. No, it's amazing. They're so talented, people who play disc golf. I've got the utmost respect. I think it should be in the Olympics. Olympics 2026. Get disc golfing.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if at some point that did become an Olympic sport. Honestly,
I'd fucking quit watching the Olympics if it did.
I reckon. I mean, they got so much different random stuff in there now. It wouldn't surprise me at all if disc golf became an Olympic sport eventually.
Crafties will be an Olympic sport before disc golf.
How would you judge that?
Like distance of shot, speed. Quite a few ways.
Oh my goodness. James in the chat at 80s and 90s wrestling. He says here, an early get up to get a train to some shithole with the missus and my mates for a Wolves away day. Get back into Wolves for some beers and a curry. Perfect day. Does it matter if Wolves have won? Does it sour your mood?
He didn't mention that. Nope. I think just going to the football is the fun. It's the taking part that counts. The win is irrelevant. Yeah, that sounds like a good day. I mean, curry on a Sunday. I don't know how I feel about that, but you do you, James. You do you.
Rob at UTT Rob on Twitter. He says, quite simply, perfect Sunday, rain. So I don't have to mow the lawn.
He's so upbeat. I love how positive and upbeat Rob is. He wishes it rains. Brilliant.
Brilliant stuff. Steve-O at Total Steve-O on Twitter. Steve-O has recently done a couple. Well, he's got a big, series of solo podcasts as well worth checking out. You can find it on Spotify and everywhere else. But he recently did one, Magsy, inspired by our look at the Goldberg Hollywood Hogan match in Atlanta. We covered for the show, didn't we? And he's never enjoyed WCW, seen bits, never liked it, never really watched it. The way we explained, he says quite openly on the podcast, the way we explained the crowd and the excitement and so on, he went back and watched it and reviewed it solo, almost like a watch along in a way for his show. And it was fascinating hearing him taking in this whole episode. He'd watched the whole episode of Nitro, which is probably a bit overkill because that's 2.5 hours, that episode of Nitro. I wouldn't have bothered. I'd have just watched the Goldberg and the NWO bits. That's kind of all you need.
Well, the Scott Hall and Goldberg match for the context and then.
Yeah. And it's a great listen. It's a great listen. I mean, the solo podcasts that Steve-O does, I really, really enjoy. They're great, and it's well worth going to check out. So you can find Steve-O at Total Steve-O on Twitter, and the at Total Steve-O podcast is all over the place as well. So track that down and give it a listen.
Yeah, definitely do.
Steve-O says, used to ask this question all the time on online dating. For me, it's gym in the morning, go to the zoo for a few hours, watch the 4:30 Premier League game, followed by a Sunday roast lamb dinner with all the trimmings, and then vanilla cheesecake for dessert.
Interesting that he's also gone with lamb. So that makes me think, what what are the rankings for like the meat on a Sunday roast? So you've got beef, pork, chicken, lamb. How do they rank to you?
See, I was going to put this out as part of the thing, and I thought it was going to end up in such a big amount of discussion.
Argument, just a massive argument.
Maybe we should have that as a whole separate topic on its own. But to me, and I know a lot of people probably aren't going to agree with me with this, but to me, chicken's my favorite meat. So I would have roast chicken above anything else.
Okay. So you're just leaving it at 1 and then nothing else. Rank them, probably, motherfucker.
All right. Probably chicken, then...
No, from 4th. So what would be the worst?
What would be the worst?
For me, beef. Not that I dislike beef, just it's just not as good as the others.
I would probably say pork would be bottom.
So for me, pork would be 3rd.
Okay. I would go beef next.
Oh, so I mean, similar. Then next I would go... Now, this has always been a toss-up because we don't have lamb regularly enough that I can put it at number 1. But I really do enjoy it when we do have it. So lamb is a sneaky second, but number 1 is chicken.
Yeah.
And its place for me is cemented at number 1 because we've bought a rotisserie oven. So basically, you get like the bar and like jab it through the chicken and it like rotates, and it's the best way to cook a chicken. It's fucking amazing, absolutely amazing. So get yourself one.
Okay.
But yeah, chicken is the winner for me.
Yeah, me. Chicken's the best. I have chicken for Christmas dinner as well.
Whoa, roll that back.
Why?
You don't have turkey or goose.
No. We have chicken. Right, turkey.
I'm starting to really kind of like to contemplate our friendship. Right, you just say these things.
Turkey's bland.
That cut me.
Yeah, turkey's quite a bland meat. Let's be fair. It's not particularly flavoursome, is it? It's in comparison to the other meats that we just listed. Turkey is, I would say, the weakest flavour of the lot.
So, do you know how to rectify that?
Well, anything that I can't really, because anything that I'm not too keen on the taste of, I just cover it in chili sauce. You can't do that on a roast, can you?
I mean, you can. You can. I know a guy, Lorraine's brother, who he covers a roast with mayonnaise, like literally.
Well, that's like, just getting into waffles country.
Yeah, it's crafty. But yeah, to get flavour into a turkey, you cook it upside down. It's only flavourless because they're grown to have such big like breast meat that it dries up before the leg meat's cooked. So you cook it upside down and the juices flow back into the breast.
Yeah, fair enough. Which I'm fairly certain Sharon would have done, but it's still not as nice as a chicken, is it?
No, I'm not saying it is as nice as a chicken, but the way you like slated it as if it was the wish.com version of a Sunday roast.
All right, Christmas dinner is in theory, Christmas dinner is like the biggest and most important roast of the year, isn't it? Christmas dinner, that's the big one. You know? Why would you have a lesser quality meat on the biggest and most important? Why wouldn't you just have what you like? Just because tradition dictates, eat a fucking turkey.
Because it's because it's tradition. Why then give gifts on that day when you could just give them whenever you want? It's because it's fucking tradition. That's why.
It's not the bloody same
Without
thing,
tradition, cats and dogs will be living together. It will be just the world will go mad. So start eating turkey. Britain depends on it. Dan in the chat, Goose, how posh are you, Max? You'll be eating swan next. I would happily eat swan if it were legal.
I'd give it a try.
Yeah, I would.
Oh, we're done with Twitter, by the way, Max. If you want to get a shot of that,
brilliant. That's amazing. Are you sure you haven't missed any?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I feel you've ignored Cam.
Oh, bugger. In that case, you'll have to read it out because I haven't got that one.
No.
Sorry, Cam.
So's Cam. Sa clearly doesn't respect you as
for
a
God's
member of the
sake.
CWF. So I will. So Cam's perfect Sunday would be I later wake up from the kids, probably 6:30 a.m. Jesus Christ. That's one of the things that makes you hate kids, isn't it? When they get you up dead early.
Hate kids.
Yeah. A family breakfast of either scrambled egg on toast or pancakes. The thick ones, of course. I make a cracking pancake. Cracking. A nice walk and maybe some sport on TV. These are so similar to his brothers. It's unreal. Finished off with a good Sunday dinner. A meat of the choice for the family and just a veg for me. Roast and mashed potatoes. Leeks, carrots, parsnips, Yorkshire pudding. Extra for after with golden syrup, cauliflower and broccoli cheese, sublime. So, what veg do you have on your roast then, sir? Obviously, you've said only one kind of potato. I mean, we've had Dan and Cam tell us what veg they have, so let us know.
I have basically whatever Sharon gives me, mate.
What veg have we got in the cupboard?
It's normally peas. It's normally...
what peas? Which kind of peas?
Well, fucking green ones, obviously.
Oh, you pillock, like garden peas.
No, petit pas.
Okay, so garden peas. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're different because they're smaller, aren't they? Garden peas are bigger.
But they're still the same.
They're fucking not. If they were the same,
anyway.
They wouldn't have a separate name, would they? For God's sake, what is wrong with you this evening?
Lord. We've not even spoke a moment of wrestling yet in like 75 minutes. So, peas.
Yes.
Carrots.
Roast carrots. Sharon,
parsnips.
What do we have? Oh, yeah, I like parsnips. Roast parsnip, yeah, banging.
And then
I like a bit of cauliflower as well.
Oh, no, it's the tree. It's the look of trees for me, for cauliflower and broccoli. Not a fan. For me,
like cauliflower, I like broccoli.
I like peas, carrots, parsnips, two types of potato, and I always get hate for it, but kale, that's absolutely amazing. Yeah, leeks, definitely. So, yeah, I think I usually end up having way more veg than I do like the meat, but you've got to have a Yorkshire pudding. Simple as that.
Yes, without a doubt, mate. Without a doubt. Yeah, so there we go. Cam's also mentioned he goes to the pub with his dad and his granddad at 2:05 when his brother Dan's fucked off home.
But he stays for 3 hours. He's like the Natro of the family. 3 hours.
We better check in the chat before we talk about the wrestling.
Right, let's go all the way back. Dan is saying his granddad. Well, we've just outed your granddad as being a liar, Dan. But he's saying his granddad only goes to the pub between 12 and 2, and he says he has one a crafty before breakfast, one in the park. That's like the danger one, isn't it? That's the danger wank when it's in the park. One before bed, and you are a single potato heathen. Sharon saying mashed potato is another thing. So, do you have mashed potato ever? Like, do you have it with anything else, or is it just it's not allowed on your roast?
No, I have it with it. Sharon makes bangers and mash and stuff, and
yeah bangers and mash, good. So you're not
with onions and mixed in and all. Yeah, lush, lovely.
Dan Griffin says CW stands for crafty wang. I mean, it always stood for that. To be fair,
how am I going to work that?
We just pretended it was chain wrestling. It was always crafty wang. CW forever. Brilliant. Dan, here's the categories for when crafty wanks are an Olympic sport: distance, speed, volume. Yeah, that was something I didn't factor in, Dan. Yeah, volume, amount. Yeah, that's if you can kind of like produce a lot.
That's what they did on Jackass, isn't it? Do you remember that?
They produced a lot of.
They went to a sperm bank, and they basically had a competition, and they sort of had certain criteria as to who was going to win.
And what volume was one of the criteria?
Yeah,
brilliant.
On Jackass, yeah.
James says he can't eat lamb because he has 2 Bichon Frise dogs and they look like lambs. Couldn't eat that meat.
Okay.
So his order is chicken, pork, then beef.
Yeah, chicken.
Dan says lamb, beef, chicken, and pork, best to worst. Chicken third place. That's horrific. Sharon slating turkey, chicken all the way. I do cook it upside down, but it's still gross. Tradition at Powell Palace is gammon on Christmas Eve, chicken on Christmas Day, and chicken curry for Boxing Day. And if there's some gammon left, maybe a bit of gammon in that curry as well.
Oh, it's banging. The curry we have on Boxing Day, mate. Fantastic, that is. Tradition
here is either a full gammon, a beef, and a turkey, or a 3-bird roast, or a 5-bird roast even sometimes. So, because I'm posh, I want that 6-bird roast with swan in it. I might need to get a new oven. And Scottish Danny says, new T-shirt. Kids, I would happily wear that T-shirt all the time. And Sharon, Petit Pois, it's Petit Pois. So she says, on your plate goes carrots, potato, broccoli, bacon, and cabbage.
Yeah, that's banging. Fry it up together. That's lush.
Surely it should be bacon and Brussels sprouts. Well, that's what it normally is, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose, but we always have bacon and cabbage. It's really good.
I believe you. Stuffing and Yorkshire pudding. Yeah, I didn't mention stuffing. Stuffing is absolutely banging. I always try and make more stuffing than we'd eat, so I can have like a chicken and stuffing butter.
Charlie would happily, I mean, she'd eat a roast dinner. She loves a roast dinner, but she would happily sit there with a massive bowl of just stuffing and a spoon. Yeah. She loves it, man.
She's absolutely right to do that as well. It's absolutely amazing stuffing. But yeah, that's all the chat caught up.
Okie doke then. Okie doke. I suppose then, Magsy. At the early time of 9:20, just because it's not early.
Jesus.
We better talk a bit of wrestling, mate.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Mr. Mags, you won the poll.
I did. Shock, a close one again.
Talk us through, basically why you chose this one, and I suppose a little bit of background as to why this match, I'm not going to lie, a slightly odd match took place.
Okay, so the reason why I chose it is because we, on a Sunday, this match took place on Sunday Night Heat, and it was a match that a lot of people, and you said it last week on the show, a lot of people don't remember or just didn't watch because of its placement in the schedule. It was literally taking place, or it was recorded and then aired at the halftime of the Super Bowl. So yeah, this was in the middle of the feud with The Rock that made Mankind basically one of the big stars of the WWF at the time. So I thought it'd be fun to go back and kind of revisit that, and for you, visit it for the first time.
Yeah, I watched it today. I can confirm now, I have not seen this before.
Yeah, a lot of people haven't. It's quite interesting that it's such a big match. And if I remember when I was looking to research, this got huge numbers as well. Like I think it was a 6.6 Nielsen, which at the time equated to about 12 million people or 12 million households watching it. It beat out the previous Raw and then the Raw after, and it beat out all the WCW programming in the weeks coming. This was the hottest show of the time period for wrestling. Yeah, it was massive.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I suppose, spoiler alert, even though this match is however many years old, it's actually a WWF world title change.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Again, I had no idea.
This was in a feud between The Rock and Mankind, where that that title was hot potatoed quite a few times. But what was interesting about it was the fact that it was in an empty arena. It was recorded with no fans in attendance. The only people actually involved in the match was that Vince McMahon was on commentary. We had Earl Hebner as the referee, and then the crew who were backstage, but in the ring and the stands and the stadium, there was nobody. It was just these two guys having at it in an empty arena match.
Yeah, and according to Mick Foley, it was something he wanted to do, and he was very much inspired by Terry Funk, because Foley's very open about his adoration for Terry Funk. Terry Funk had an empty arena match way back when. I believe it was with Jerry Lawler in the 80s.
I believe so. Yeah,
and that's why we need Joshua Goodwin in the chat, because he would confirm it like that. But it's weird for me. It's a weird one. Because, again, literally because there is no crowd. And on one aspect, it's really strange because, especially when they're in the arena itself, the voices are echoing around the arena as they're shouting, as they're selling, as they're, Mick Foley is quite a vocal wrestler, I suppose. Mm-hmm. He makes a noise every time he throws a punch and all this sort of stuff. So you've got all that echoing around the arena. You've got Vince McMahon on his own doing commentary, which is odd in itself, but McMahon is also very much pro Rock. He's very much a heel commentator here in support of the Rock. Mm-hmm. So that's a weird, odd kind of makeup in itself with the commentary. And the whole scenario, it's the audio, I guess, is just so strange to me. I mean, later on, it becomes brilliant because The Rock is comedy gold. But the early stages, whilst they're still in the arena itself, I find it very strange, Max.
Yeah, I can understand that. This was almost like the Thunderdome and the kind of COVID era of WWE before it ever happened. And for a little bit of context, this whole feud kind of started at, I believe it was Survivor Series, where we got a kind of a rehashing of the Montreal Screwjob, where Mankind, who was meant to...
Was that the tournament?
Yeah, for the title. Basically, Mankind was led to believe that he was Vince's pick, that he was going to win the title. And then when we get to the final, it's Mankind versus The Rock, and it's Vince has actually sided with The Rock. Mankind is in that era where he is a little bit simple, I suppose, and you don't kind of understand what's going on.
Naive, isn't he? Very, very
naive, exactly.
I suppose face value. He takes everything at face value, maybe. It doesn't see any ulterior motives. Is that,
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. So he doesn't understand what's happening, but he quickly learns that Vince is not to be trusted. We get to, I think it's the Rumble, and Mankind had won the title, and we were going into matches with more and more stakes, and we were getting matches with more and more brutality. That Rumble match, hopefully we may visit that soon, because that is brutal. It's a lot of the basis for the Beyond the Mat documentary, where we see just how battered in Mick Foley's face gets with the chair. But we get the match at Royal Rumble where Mankind is screwed out the title in an I Quit match because they recorded him saying I quit earlier in the show. And it eventually leads to this, the empty arena match, where Mankind stole some money that Vince had promised to The Rock. I think it was $100,000 from Shane's trust fund. And he said he'd give the money back if they got this match. And Mankind set the stipulation of the empty arena match, like you said, in kind of like in homage to one of his best friends in wrestling.
Yeah, I bloody love Terry Funk. Love Terry Funk, man. I mean, you mentioned there the Royal Rumble match, and it literally just popped in my head then when you brought it up, Magsy. in this era, I suppose, Attitude Era WWF, is there an argument then potentially that Mick Foley is maybe Mr. Royal Rumble in a way, without actually being a Royal Rumble winner? Because you've got the match with The Rock that was, everyone still talks about it to this day, because as you brilliantly verbalized the chair shots and the viciousness of the match. You've also got the match with Triple H at the Rumble at Madison Square Garden, the street fight. You then also got the moment in the Rumble where Foley comes back 3 times in each character or role he had at the time. In that Attitude Era bubble, I suppose, aside from Austin, who won in 97, what was it, 97, 98, and 2001, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is Foley maybe the biggest Rumble star without winning the Rumble then?
I mean, there's certainly a case to be made for that. Yeah, I think you may be right. I suppose you could call him the biggest Rumble star, not affiliated with the actual Rumble, because there's been some wrestlers who have absolutely kicked ass in Royal Rumbles, been Iron Men multiple times, but never quite got the push from it that they perhaps deserve. But yes, certainly Mankind is when you think of Royal Rumble, not the match, but Royal Rumble events, he's certainly one of the first people that you think of.
Yeah, it's funny. It literally just popped in my head then because you mentioned about the match with The Rock and that, and my mind went to the Triple H one, and it's quite a lot of memories from Foley in that era, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely there is.
Yeah. Okay. The match. The match is just weird straight off the bat because all you got is rows of blue empty seats, so it looks odd. But the whole purpose of it, I suppose, is to be different. So it ticks the box. It does what it sets out to do because it is different, of course. But we very early on we get Mr. Socko, the Mandible Claw, and the double arm DDT from Mick Foley. But with Vince,
he's not hanging about.
No, exactly. With Vince on commentary, being the heel commentator as well, I guess, and supporting The Rock, it's almost, I mean, the double arm DDT is one of Foley's big finishing moves. It's almost undersold, isn't it? It's almost like it wasn't, I don't think that was pushed as big a deal as a potential match-ending move by Vince on commentary. If that was Michael Cole, I fully expect Vince to have been screaming in his ear.
Oh, my God! Yeah. Yeah, you're right, but again, that kind of shows the bias to The Rock that Vince McMahon had all the way through the match. He was kind of putting down Mankind, and then highlighting everything that The Rock did as the best thing since sliced bread. So I think I suppose that's the issue with having just one person on commentary. If they show bias, you don't have that kind of that second person to combat against that. And I think that's why the likes of Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan and Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, they bounce off each other because you've got that good guy, bad guy kind of mentality, I suppose, where in this you just had the heel being pushed.
Yeah, okay. I mean, on the note of commentary, I know we're deviating a little bit from our main subject, but I'm curious now. What is your own preference? And then also, what do you think works the best? They don't necessarily have to be the same thing, but the majority of wrestling I've watched in my life has had a 2-man team. So you have a play-by-play guy, and then what I suppose you refer to as the color guy. Wrestling nowadays, well, especially with WWE on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and so on, you have a 3-man team or a 3-person team because we're getting quite a lot of lady commentators and so on. And then, of course, you get the aspect of ECW's Joey Styles called a lot of the action on his own for the majority of ECW until Cyrus the Virus, as he was called. What was his name? Don Callis. Sorry, he joined him on commentary in the later ECW years. So the dynamic changed quite dramatically there. Does it depend on the product, or do you have an actual preference yourself as to what because sometimes too many voices be too much. I don't know. What are your thoughts on commentary and what works in general? I guess is the question I'm asking, Magsy.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think it's all comes from when you were kind of introduced into wrestling. My preference would always be a 2-man booth because you get that the straight play-by-play, and then you get the comedy and the kind of healing up from the colour. I didn't mind a 3-man booth every now and again, and when you had like a wrestling perhaps comes down to commentate on a match or something like that.
A guest commentator sort of thing.
Yeah. But for me, having a permanent 3-man booth is a bit overkill. And like I said, you have people talking over. I suppose it's good for the commentators because if you don't have anything particular to say, you've got more people to rely on to fill that dead air. But for me, I sometimes feel that they talk over each other and they end up kind of almost arguing between the commentators and not really focusing in on the wrestling as much. And there's been sometimes when I've been watching AEW and they've had 4 people on commentary, and that's just madness. Just anarchy. In terms of a one-man commentary, I think Joey Styles is the anomaly there. I think Joey Styles is the only person who has been able to nail a one-man commentary, aside from a certain Mr. Powell for EBM. For his one-man commentary booth was particularly good. But yeah, for me, I prefer 2 men.
Oh, mate, I appreciate that. Thank you. I only did a couple of shows for them, and our schedules now don't quite line up as they should. I suppose I might as well say it now, I guess, deviating again a touch. I've not stopped doing it. It's going to happen again in the future. And I appreciate, I'm not going to name names, but I appreciate there are certain wrestlers who have complained to me that I've not called their matches because my schedules didn't line up. So that was quite
look at you,
nice.
In demand.
Oh, mate, honestly, it made me feel so good.
I thought you was going to say I've been future endeavoured from EDM wrestling.
It was lovely that I heard like a certain guy was looking forward to me calling his pre-recorded match and just adding the audio, and I couldn't make it work with what EVM wanted with regards to, they have quite a quick turnaround and I couldn't fit it in with the stuff I'm doing. And then I know that a couple of particular wrestlers were disappointed, shall we say, that I didn't get to call their match. So that was lovely to hear. That really was a real big confidence boost for me because it was a whole new thing I was doing. I called a bit for Evolution Wrestling as well, but that was with Benny Mack as my co-commentator, and that was quite easy working with Benny and so on as well. But the solo stuff I found that very difficult initially. So knowing that the wrestlers themselves appreciated it, it meant a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there we go.
Good. Can't wait to hear you back on the airwaves with them.
Well, we'll see how it goes, mate. We've got the stars got to align, I think, for it all to work out. But yeah, there we go. Back to the wrestling anyway. We get The Rock. It was The Rock, I believe, yeah. Basically thrown onto the timekeeper's table where the ring bell is kept, and the bell makes a noise.
Dong.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm hoping they figured out a way of working that. Otherwise, that was The Rock's noggin. That must have really hurt.
I mean, later on in the month, he levels Mick Foley with a chair multiple times. So
yeah,
one bell shot is nothing compared to what he gives Mick Foley. But yeah, it gets pretty hardcore pretty quickly, this match. There's a spot where The Rock throws whips Mick into the barricade, and he just goes through the barricade and like lands in the seats like a couple of rows back. Really, really brutal. And then he buries Mick with a load of the chairs. And this is where I think having no fans kind of helps this match, because you start seeing The Rock playing up his character, like talking to Mick whilst he's burying the chairs. going on commentary with Vince McMahon. This is where the match becomes really, really unique because you get to see all not only the wrestling but the shit talking that happens between the two as the match goes on. I think it's really, really interesting, very unique.
I mean, the Sunday Night Heat episode that this was aired upon. Oh my goodness, Cameron Griffin in the chat there. A bell shot is nothing to justify, Max. And you're right, because when your head hits that bell, it is very painful, as the Rock will no doubt attest. This is obviously pre-recorded in the arena before an event, and we have it's being aired on Sunday Night Heat. So Sunday Night Heat is, the arena is full. We have commentary there. We keep cutting back to the arena to get Shane McMahon's responses because it's being aired on the Titatron there, as they tell us. If you were the person who set that arena up, how pissed off would you have been if you went to get a coffee, nipped off to ring your missus, have a cigarette, whatever, come back, and the chairs have just been smashed to shit after you've lined them all up? How cross would you have been?
Oh, you'd be fuming, but as long as you're getting paid for it, I suppose. And surely they would have known. Two wrestlers rocking up into the ring and no fans. Surely they would have known. Yeah, it's happening now.
Yeah, McMahon on commentary, we keep hearing "Get him, Rock! Get him, Rock!" and it just kind of added to what we were.
Yeah, he totally calls it down the middle. I love how he calls it down the middle. I absolutely love it.
It added to what we were watching, but it's that moment. It backs up completely what you were saying, Magsy, about the commentary and balancing off each other. That's when you needed a Jim Ross or somebody else to say, "Come on, Mick Foley is doing this," and the play-by-play individual, I suppose. And McMahon on commentary actually makes a comment of Austin was supposed to be commentating with him, but hasn't shown up. Now, I've got no idea about this whatsoever. Is this something you understand? Is there anything information there that you know of? I mean, McMahon says he's going to go find Austin tomorrow night on Raw, but I don't understand why Austin wouldn't have been there if he was supposed to have been, storyline wise.
Yeah, so I think it's because Austin was obviously one of the biggest stars in the company, and they wanted to make sure he was still involved. He actually helped Mick win the title in the first place in the beginning of January. So it's kind of like the weaving of all the top stars. I think Triple H and The Rock were having a feud previous to this, and then they after this feud kind of dies down, they go back into that feud. And Triple H also helps Mankind win the title in the first place. So there's a lot of moving parts in this. I don't know if Austin was meant to commentate, or whether that's Vince just mentioning Austin because he's Stone Cold Steve Austin, and you mentioned him and
name value sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Fair enough. I suppose in a sort of insight to what we're going to see at the Rumble that you mentioned before, Maxie, we see some nasty chair shots here, then, don't we? I mean, some of them sound worse than they actually are because The Rock is hitting other chairs with his chair. But then there's a couple that you literally, again, wrestling in '99, they weren't aware of the things that we know now. So we watch now in 2022, knowing about the concussion issues and the damage it can cause people. But we sat, some of them made me wince.
Yeah, they clearly weren't as bothered about CTE as much as wrestling is now. But as bad as the chair shots were, it gets a whole lot worse when we start moving around the stadium. We end up in the kitchen, and we see cotton candy, candy floss being used as a weapon. We see The Rock putting Mr. Socko in an oven.
That was amazing. when he did the voice. Oh no, Rock, don't hurt me.
we see Rock hit Mankind with bread, which is just brutal. And then he finds a bottle of Jack Daniels, struggles to crack the bottle open, takes a gobful, and then gets punched clean in the mush. Then we see there's a Lazy Susan stack full of plates, which gets brought into the match a couple of times. But then
is that what that's called? Is it a Lazy Susan?
Yeah, I think it's a Lazy Susan, the trolley that has the plates on. Yeah, I think it's
okay. I didn't realise that. Name. What's that thing called that? It's got a name itself. I suppose it's kind of similar to the size I've got here to podcasting, where they put the food in on the thing and then it goes up the chute. What's that one called?
That might be the Lazy Susan. Now that does spring to mind. I know what you mean, like the elevator thing.
Yeah, like the little lift. But yeah.
Okay. That's your homework. Find out what that's called.
I will definitely do that.
You definitely won't. So yeah, we're talking about brutal weapons, bread, plates, chair shots, Jack Daniels, and then the worst weapon of all. This not only hurts the Rock, it almost cripples the referee. Mankind destroys the Rock with a massive bag of popcorn.
Oh.
He whoops the shit out of him with it, and the popcorn just ends up going all over. And then you see Earl Hebner trying to work the way further backstage because Mankind throws the Rock through a door, and Earl nearly slips on the popcorn. It's absolutely hilarious. He does one of those kind of like double takes where you've walked on ass and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, it's brilliant. But
if anyone ever clips something for TikTok, they've got to get you and me both simultaneously going, whoop, whoop.
But the brutal weapon of a bag of popcorn being whacked over your head, it's just horrific. So after that, we go into the catering area, and you think the food wars are done. Oh no, it gets better. So they have
before we move on, the popcorn. Obviously, it's all comedy effects and so on. There's a massive bag of popcorn.
It's literally a bin bag, a clear bin bag of popcorn.
Right, but there's a noise as well. That first proper swing of the bag before it starts going everywhere, and he hits the Rock with it. There is actually it sounds like comedy because they're slipping on the popcorn, but that first initial swing and the noise it makes, it sounds like it genuinely knocks the freaking wind out of the Rock.
That's probably knocking the wind out of the blown up popcorn, to be fair.
And it sounded more vicious than a bag of popcorn has any right to sound.
This part of the match needed the 60s Batman logos where it goes thwack, thwomp, awooga, yeah, kapow, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Mick throws Rock through an exit. He ends up getting the door kicked back into his head. But then we see a lot of the production team all sat around eating the dinner, and then there's tables laid around kind of like the outside of the room. And Rock and Mick are going down opposite sides of this table and throwing all kinds of stuff at each other. The Rock really sells being hit with a I think it's a tub of salad. And then he throws those. So if you imagine those steel catering trays that they use to keep food warm, there's one of those with salsa in, and he throws it in Mick's face, and Mick sells this like he has been burned with acid. He's laying on the floor. It burns. So the
Rock dips a chip into.
He dips a chip into it, tastes it, and he's like, "It's mild," which is just absolutely brilliant. And just had me roaring. He then, I think he hits him with I think it's a squash, and he's like, "I don't even know what this is, but I'm going to hit you with it anyway."
Rock doesn't even know what this is. By this point as well, Foley's lost a shoe.
Yeah, he just gone.
I don't know where
and,
it's gone.
and his sock is rancid, but that
Yeah.
sock will come into play a little bit later on. But yeah,
The Rock also. I mean, don't get me wrong. Vince McMahon, he loves a food fight, doesn't he? So this must be right up his street. He's probably getting a massive.
he'll be
kick
having a
out of
crafty. He'll be having a crafty.
He'll be having a crafty. But there's. I mean, Foley's obviously wearing the white shirt, isn't he? Which adds, I suppose, to the visual because you've got the salsa sauce and all the stuff all over the white. All over the whiteness of his shirt. And The Rock tells him off at one stage and says, "Stop making a mess."
He throws him into a tower, which is on the corner, pours a Pepsi over him. Then they end up in an office, which again was just absolutely brilliant. So you've got the office workers are there. The phone rings. the Rock answers it, and he says, "Oh, you want Mankind?" Well, he's a bit busy because he's got the Rock's foot in his mouth, and then it rings again, and the Rock, and this just shows how good of a comedian the Rock was when he's going, this is a SmackDown hotel on the corner of Know Your Old Boulevard and Jabroni Drive. The Mankind can't talk right now because he's tied up, and he's there choking him with the phone cord. Stops to have a bit of a flirt. The woman with one of the people in the office, she says, she's not interested in the Rock strudel. So he calls her fat. Says, "You're too fat anyway." Tells her to beat it.
I mentioned earlier on about watching the match and then going downstairs and talking to Sharon about it before coming up to, be live and broadcast with your good self, Mags. I spoke to her about The Rock here, and my wife is a massive Rock fan, and she remembers this era, and the sort of trucky bottoms with the 2 white stripes down the sides and all that sort of stuff. And we both agreed it's like he's supposed to be a heel, but you can see how he ended up becoming the babyface version of this character because he is just so entertaining. And Sharon, I loved him even as a bad guy. I loved him because he was just so funny.
Yeah, he had that innate skill of using exactly the same character, but with the slightest difference, and he would be the best babyface and the worst heel. So good at it.
Yeah, I mean Jake Roberts talks about that a great deal, doesn't he?
Yeah. So after being distracted by the lady in the office, that gives Mankind the opportunity to get back at the Rock, and they end up brawling into the hallway and then the loading dock, and you kind of get telegraphed the ending because the camera angle in the shot you see this pallet with beer kegs on, and then all of a sudden it starts lifting up. Now, if you've never watched this match before, like you, Ant, that you may not have noticed that. But when you know where
this was going.
Yeah, so you know what the finish is when you see that going up. So we see basically just a bit of brawling now in the loading dock. We see Mick Foley take the grim sock off. I mean, this sock has got salsa, chips, Pepsi. It looks rank, and he hits the sock off, makes the Rock pass out, and then Mankind looks around his surroundings and looks where the Rock is, looks at the forklift truck, looks back at the Rock, and you can see the light bulb going off in Mick's head. He's got an idea. He very, very politely asks the forklift truck driver to get off.
Will you get off, please? It was even
McMahon. Of course I will, sir.
Even McMahon.
How dare he be so polite? Look at him, the evil bastard. And then he's gonna run over the Rock. He's gonna run, and he doesn't run over. He just shouts, "Down, down!" Pulls down the forks of the truck, and this is where I think the camera angle on this, I think, kind of it takes away from this match for me, because you see a top-down view of the Rock, as if there's a camera on the pallet, and it's focusing in on him, Eventually, the pallet is on Rock's chest, meaning he can't kick out. His shoulders are pinned down. Mick climbs on the pallet, leaning on the beer kegs, gets the win, handed the title, and we basically end with Mick showing off and The Rock bad mouthing Mick, essentially calling him a cheat. But yeah, that's the end of the match, and a hell of a lot of fun.
I'll tell you what. I mean, there's a couple of things I want to go back and comment on very quickly before we give our ratings, Magsy. But you mentioned there a hell of a lot of fun. I've basically just sat back for the last 10 minutes or so and let you run through the majority of the match. And I don't think I've seen you visibly so happy when talking about wrestling in such a long time. The grin on your face explaining some of the comedy moments in this contest was superb. Because it is that enjoyable. It is that funny. I mean, there's a wrestling match. It's no Omega Okada. It's no Steamboat Flair. Of course not. It's probably no Funk Lawler. Don't get me wrong, but it's entertainment. It is what it is, I suppose. It's sports entertainment, and it is. I mean, the grin on your face as you were talking us through those moments is probably the biggest advert for anyone out there who has not seen this match before to go back and watch it again. Just because of the sheer enjoyment and fun that I had listening to Magsy then, and Magsy obviously had explaining the match to everyone. If you've not seen it, go back and watch it. When I first started watching this today, I was a bit like, oh, fucking hell. I wish Hell in the Cell won. By the end of it, I was thinking, that was gold. That was so funny.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, you could have the best technical wrestling in the world, and I will laud technical wrestling to the hills. It's amazing when you see some of the things that wrestlers can do. It just absolutely beggars belief. But the reason why we as kids got into wrestling was because of the outlandish characters and because it was fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
As kids, you didn't watch wrestling for the technical skill. You didn't watch it for the submission moves. You watched it because it made you laugh. You heard swearing, so that was like a taboo.
Yeah.
And this, for me, it was not a 5-star technical classic, but for sheer entertainment, it was up there with some of the best, because it puts a massive smile on your face. Two really good wrestlers, clearly having the time of their life in a very unique match setting. Yeah, I mean, this could warm the heart of anybody who is kind of soured on wrestling, because it's just fun. It's just absolute fun. And for me, it's we've lost that in wrestling, especially with WWE, because they've obviously kind of they're going for a younger demographic. But we're seeing AEW bring things like this back with like the Stadium Stampede match, for example. Very, very reminiscent of this, where it's daft, it's silly, it's spots that wouldn't normally happen in a wrestling match, but you can't help but have a smile because it just makes you enjoy wrestling.
Now, I'm going to sort of echo your sentiments there, but I'm going to use a couple of examples as well. As everyone's fully aware, AEW has been the company for my house because of my daughter's adoration for the likes of the Bucks and so on. And we started watching it at the beginning, and it's AEW pay-per-views are a big deal in my house. I book time off work and sneakily try and let my daughter stay off school the following day to watch them and all that sort of stuff, right? As everyone's more than aware through Chain Wrestling and other shows I do, I often look at Charlie and her reaction with certain things to gauge. I mean, she's a 12-year-old girl. It's interesting gauging her thoughts and her reactions. And I'm a 41 miserable bastard, so my opinion on certain aspects of wrestling can be different to hers. I'm not necessarily the catchment area that these companies are after anymore. So I look to her and sort of try and gauge what she thinks, how she feels, how she's reacting. So many moments in AEW with the silly spots, the crazy matches, the sort of jokey stuff. The Mimosa match. It was Mimosa, wasn't it, with Orange Cassidy and
Yeah, with Orange Cassidy.
Yeah. I thought that was nonsense. Orange Cassidy himself, for a long time, I thought was absolute nonsense. I did not get it. But I look at my little girl, biggest grin on her face ever, loves Orange Cassidy, loved that match. And I'm thinking, that's what it's about. I can watch Kenny Omega in the main event put on a 5-star classic, and that ticks the box for me. That's worth staying out till 4, 5 o'clock in the morning for me. But if you have every match aimed at that, you're not going to have people like Charlie and other kids, I suppose, getting that spark that we had, Magsy, back in the 80s and the 90s and so on, that hooked us in. And wrestling needs that. We need to be bringing in younger fans, younger eyes, younger opinions. Because ultimately, we're not going to be around forever. We fall out of love with wrestling. For a long time, I fell out of love with WWE. Now, if younger fans aren't coming in, these companies wrestling will die. And, what's left for people to watch then? It's, so stuff like this, not a 5-star classic, as you said, but so bloody entertaining. A spot I wanted to refer back to that we didn't touch upon maybe when it happened was the fighting up the steps. And they reached the top where like the I suppose the concession stand, the merchandise stand is. And it's not very well lit, first of all, which I think added to the authenticity of the match. It made it more realistic because why would that be lit? The match is happening supposedly in the ring. So why would that area be lit? So that added a certain realism to me. But then The Rock kicks Foley down the stairs. And he rolls and he rolls and he rolls and it's big bumps and it looks nasty. But then it gets to a point where the momentum's kind of stopped and he kind of throws himself a bit further. That's the one little niggle I've got with this that kind of took me out of it a touch. I was a bit like, okay, that's a little bit maybe too try hard. What did you think
a little
about
bit
rolling down steps?
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. I think it's a very minor thing in a match, and I suppose a lot of what was happening was being called on the fly. Because this didn't feel like a match that they booked to the letter and kind of practiced like most matches. This was definitely what props are available, what kind of comedy spot can we get out of it, and let's just play by ear. So yeah, I understand that you're being a bit perturbed by the try hard, but in the grand scheme of things, it was one small thing in a match where a lot more could have gone wrong.
It was a very small thing. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Okay then. I suppose out of 10.
Right. So it's hard to give it a 10 because it's not the classic 5-star technical wrestling match that usually warrants a 10. But if you want to be entertained by a wrestling match, you can't go far wrong from this because you're not getting the matches of a Bret Hart or of a Chris Benoit, that kind of wrestling talent. But you're getting a bloody barn burner of a match. So fun, so many great spots. These two, they have so much chemistry with each other. It's absolutely unreal. They play off each other really well. And you finish watching this match with a massive smile on your face, and there's multiple times where you will belly laugh. And that, for me, is a massive factor in wrestling. So this rates highly for me. I think I'm going to go with 8.5.
Why? That is very high. Why? Okay. My standpoint is I always try and look at the in-ring action. There's not much in-ring. From an entertainment standpoint, this is incredible. This made me... And I'll tell you what, I look back on it more positively now than when we first went live because of your enthusiasm. You've made me more, I suppose, open-minded to what this is, as opposed to being a cynical old man looking at wrestling.
I mean, how can you not love Mankind being burned with mild salsa. It's just hilarious. Just selling it like he's been burned. It's amazing.
That's a good point. I can't go quite as high as yourself because I know I've given matches an 8, an 8.5, and that sort of area that I would go back and watch again and again and again over this.
Okay.
But if you want, what would it be? 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes of just nonsense to put a smile on your face.
It's daft. It's properly daft.
I would happily sit down tomorrow when Charlie gets in from school and say, watch this, knowing she's going to love it. From that, I'm probably going to go a 7.5, which is higher than I thought I was going to give it when we came into the show. So
what were your initial thoughts then? What number were you going to give it?
Initially, I was thinking 6.5, 7. I was looking more.
You cynical old goat.
Exactly, that's what I am. That's exactly what I am. You know, but your enthusiasm and just the fact that as we've ran back through certain moments, I was like, yeah, that was quite funny, and that was great, and The Rock was so funny there, and it's opened my mind a little bit more to the entertainment side of it as opposed to the wrestling side of it. And ultimately, this is WWF, WWE. It's sport entertainment. Mm-hmm. It's not Okada, Omega in New Japan, where you're looking at a wrestling match. This is something slightly different. And it does what it needs to do from that aspect. And again, I want to sit down now and watch this with my girls. I want to sit down now and rewatch this with my wife because I think it's 20 minutes of just fun. And wrestling should be fun. So there we go.
Absolutely right.
Fair enough then, Magsy. Fair enough. Where shall we go next week? Now, I'm very intrigued to see where we go here because obviously The Rock's career is very exciting and long. Foley's got various, the stipulation, all sorts going on. What have you got for us, mate?
Okay, so for me, watching this back, it reminded me of just how good The Rock and Mankind were together. This storyline built from the Survivor Series, it rolled on all the way into the lead up to WrestleMania. And then even post WrestleMania, these two were kind of like entwined. We get the whole Rock and Sock connection, stuff like that. So I think there's more legs in kind of like talking about these two. And there's also some very historic moments that this feud is a part of. So I want to go back a little bit earlier in this feud to the beginning of January, to an episode of Raw, January the 4th. And this is where Mankind, Mick Foley, wins the title in this feud for the first time. His first time in his career. Now, the match isn't that long. I think it's around 10 minutes. But it's incredibly significant in wrestling because this is seen as a massive turning point in the Monday Night War. But this isn't just because of what happens in this match. It's also because of what happens on the other side. So I am proposing next week we do a simulcast.
Ooh.
So I want to cover Mankind versus The Rock for the title, but also I want us to kind of to talk about what happened on WCW Nitro because we see Tony Schiavone giving away the results of Raw, which is what WCW did at that time, and he makes a comment that has gone down in the annals of history as one of the points that turned the tide for the WWF, and then also I want to look at the main event of that WCW show because that's also a massive point in history of wrestling. It's the finger poke of doom. Ooh. So a lot happening on this one episode of Raw. We've got Mankind winning his first title. We've got Tony Schiavone essentially handing them the ratings with what he says, being fed by Eric Bischoff. And then we've got one of the preeminent Hall of Lame nominees in the finger poke of doom. So that's what I want to cover. I want to cover January the 4th, 1999.
Why? I don't even think I can put anything up against that. That's
you have
insane.
to. It's the name of the game, sir.
I know it's the nature of the yeah. Why? I want to do that. I want to do that. Vote for Mags. Ignore me. January the 4th, 1999. I mean, if you'd have just said The Rock versus Mankind from that Raw, the crowd, Magsy in always looking for ways to break the rules, my wife says in the chat. Yeah, very true, very true. If you'd have just put forward that episode of Raw, the crowd reaction, I mean, when Austin comes down during the main event, the noise for Austin is potentially one of the biggest pops I've ever heard. It's insane. That moment alone is worth looking at.
I mean, even going back to earlier in the show, I think Mankind has to face Triple H to get his title shot. And Triple H beats him, and Triple H feels guilty that he's beat him because everybody loves Mankind. And he's the 1999 version of Kofi Kingston or Daniel Bryan, where the authority figure are throwing everything at him to stop him becoming the guy. And so when he does win the big one, it's so much sweeter. And I think it'll just be interesting to have like a look back 20 odd years after the fact of just how important this one night of wrestling actually was.
Yeah, totally. And the fact that we could look at a little bit of Nitro as well and the comparison, everything about it. What a great option on the poll. But I do have to put something up against it, sadly. My option is also involving Mick Foley, but in a previous guise as Cactus Jack. And I'm looking maybe a little bit more brutality, a little bit more viciousness in the contest. I would like to go back to Halloween Havoc 1993, again using Mick Foley as the link, and a Texas death match between Cactus Jack and Big Van Vader. Now, that match is rough, and it's stuck in my memory as a kid. It definitely stuck in Foley's memory because of what happened. But I want to watch Jack versus Vader, but at the same time, the option you put forward, what a poll we've got this week, Mags.
Yep, so it's all on you, CWF. Do we go and see one of the most brutal mainstream wrestling matches, or do we get to see Cactus Jack versus Big Van Vader?
You can vote in the poll when it is up later in the week after the audio version is released on our Twitter account at @chain_wrestling. Make sure you vote, retweet, and so on. And as always, with regards to our Twitter account and our other social medias, feedback always welcome. Send us what you think, what you want from the show, what you like,
absolutely.
what you dislike. Maybe not what you dislike. I won't read that shit. But just send in as much feedback as possible. Let us know what you like, what you dislike, what we can do, I suppose, going forward to make the show even better for yourselves.
Yep. I mean, like he said, we won't read it anyway. And he already said he's not going to change the show, so it's basically pissing in the wind. But do it anyway. No, seriously, you guys are the lifeblood of this show. So if we can do anything to make this better for yous, absolutely we will. So give us your thoughts, your criticisms, your praise, mainly your praise, because we do like the praise. But yeah, you guys are amazing. You absolutely are. I adore you all.
And the fact that you've changed your calendars as well to join us on a Sunday night rather than a Monday night. We will be back Monday next week. That is the plan. So make sure you're marking that down in calendars as well. Magsy, I suppose the only thing left to do now is to say whereabouts people can find us online, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't find me because I'm not online.
But onlymags.com.
Can you imagine? Jesus, that very niche. No, you can follow me down here on the Twitter at PodfatherMags, or you can follow me on TikTok or Instagram. I think it's the same at Mags All Pods. I don't post on anything because I've become a social recluse.
Nothing wrong with that, bud. Nothing wrong with that. You can follow me on Twitter at SJP Words, but as I keep saying over and over again on all the different shows, most importantly is tracking down and finding and following the network at SJP World Media on Facebook and Twitter. And via the main feed on SJP World Media, you get all the shows as they drop. So that is the Doctor Who pod, the Waiting Room is coming back very soon. Conversations happened literally today. Back When with Tyler and Scottish Danny. Nitro Nights, the NXT show coming up very soon with Joshua Goodwin giving an insight as to how things work in the ring sometimes from a wrestler's standpoint, as well as me talking my usual nonsense. All the stuff from Benny Mack in the corner, looking at modern day WWE, the Nothingness show on weekends. Check in at Power Palace, where it's just a good half an hour to an hour or so of my wife mocking me, and rightfully so.
I remember when you said, "Oh, it'll be half an hour."
Yeah, things change, mate. Things change. Here we are, 2 hours, 15 in, and
Card subject to change.
That's it. But there we go. You can find this show, obviously, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm at TikTok thingamy at chain_wrestling. But again, go and track down the handles, the links, the podcast platforms for the network, because you get everything on there at SJP World Media. Don't forget about the merchandise sale at the end of the month. The 24th onwards, up to 35% off, and standard tees lowered a certain amount as well. Well worth checking out. New designs coming up very, very soon. Magsy, I've loved this. This has been a bloody brilliant episode. I always enjoy it, but I really enjoyed it this week.
Yeah, so have I. And be careful next time you have salsa, because it can burn.
Exactly. I'm off now to go and basically fill my empty bowl. Fill my empty arena, because I'm still bloody hungry. I've been that busy this week, mate. That busy today. I've not fed myself. I will speak to you next week, my friend.
It's mild.